Have you ever tried explaining yourself over and over again, hoping that maybe, just maybe, this time the other person will finally understand you, only to realize they never actually wanted to understand in the first place? You speak with honesty, with patience, with your whole heart. You try new words, softer words, clearer words, and yet all they hear is the echo of their own assumptions. This is the story of a man who lived through that frustration. A man who discovered something powerful, the truth that sometimes silence speaks louder, clearer, and stronger than any explanation ever could. In the small, peaceful town of Willow Creek, tucked between the snowy mountains of Colorado and long stretches of quiet farmland, lived a man named Ethan Brooks. Ethan wasn't the kind of person who drew attention. He didn't seek praise or crowds. He owned a little lantern shop at the corner of Maple Street, a warm wooden shop with big windows and shelves filled with glowing handmade lamps. His lanterns were famous in the town for their soft golden light that made even the coldest winter nights feel warm. People loved Ethan's work, but not everyone loved Ethan himself. Directly across the street stood the tall white house of Mr. Henry Dawson, the town inspector. Dawson had sharp eyes, a sharper tongue, and a habit of assuming the worst of everyone. He would stand with arms crossed, watching Ethan's shop as if waiting for him to make a mistake. Every few weeks, he would walk into the marketplace, raise his voice, and accuse Ethan of charging too much. "These lanterns aren't worth the price you ask," he would shout, making sure the whole town heard. Ethan always tried to explain. He talked about the expensive glass he ordered from Denver, the high-quality oil that kept the flame steady, and the careful craftsmanship that took hours of patient work. But Dawson never listened. He pretended to hear, but his mind was already made up. He would smirk, shrug, and walk away, leaving Ethan standing there with his words hanging in the air like forgotten smoke. Weeks turned into months. Ethan kept trying, kept defending his honesty, kept repeating himself in hopes that anyone would understand. But the more he explained, the more twisted the stories became. "Ethan's overcharging," someone whispered outside a bakery. "Ethan is hiding extra money in his back room," another person murmured near the post office. Every rumor stabbed deeper than the last. And no matter how many times Ethan tried to clear his name, his words only seemed to add fuel to the fire. At night, when the streets grew quiet and stars blinked softly above the mountains, Ethan would sit alone in his workshop. He would watch the lanterns flicker on the shelves, their gentle light dancing against the wooden walls. "Why can't they see the truth?" he whispered to himself. "Why do I have to explain myself again and again?" His heart felt heavy, tired, worn out from trying to fight shadows made of lies. One crisp morning, the whole town gathered in the square. A traveler had arrived, an old monk making his way through the mountains. People rushed toward him, asking for blessings, wisdom, comfort. Ethan stood at a distance at first, unsure if he should even approach, but something inside him, maybe hope, pushed him forward. He waited until the crowd grew smaller, then stepped closer. When the monk looked up, Ethan spoke softly. "Sir, I try to live honestly. I've never cheated anyone. But no matter how much I explain myself, people twist my words. How do I make them understand the truth?" The monk studied Ethan quietly, his eyes calm like a still lake. Then he asked, "Tell me, if a man believes the sky is green, what color is the sky to him?" Ethan blinked, confused. "Well, he would still think the sky is green." "And would your explanations change his eyes?" the monk asked gently. Ethan slowly shook his head. "No, they wouldn't." The monk placed a warm hand on his shoulder. "Then stop explaining colors to those who refuse to see. Let your life, not your words, speak for you. Silence is not weakness, my son. It is peace protecting your truth." Those words settled deep inside Ethan's heart, quieting all the noise that had been hurting him for months. It felt as if someone had finally turned off a storm inside him. From that day on, Ethan changed. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. When Mr. Dawson shouted in the marketplace, Ethan simply nodded politely and continued with his day. When someone repeated a rumor about him, he smiled kindly and focused on his work. People thought his silence meant guilt. "See? He won't even defend himself," Dawson sneered loudly. But Ethan wasn't silent because he was weak, he was silent. Because he finally understood that arguing with closed minds was like trying to light a lantern in the rain. Instead of explaining, Ethan let his work speak. Every evening, he polished a single lantern and placed it outside his shop. That lantern glowed brighter and longer than any light in the town. Travelers noticed its steady warmth and began stopping by the shop. Families from nearby towns heard about the lantern that never flickers and came to buy their own. Ethan didn't advertise, didn't shout, didn't explain. His lanterns carried his truth for him. One evening, something unexpected happened. Mr. Dawson, stiff and embarrassed, walked into Ethan's shop. He placed 3 coins on the counter and said quietly, "I need a lantern for my porch." Ethan didn't respond with sarcasm or anger. He simply handed Dawson a beautifully crafted lantern and said, "It will serve you well." The kindness in his voice caught Dawson off guard. A few nights later, the townspeople noticed Dawson standing outside his house, staring at the warm glow of Ethan's lantern as if seeing real light for the first time. He didn't speak, but the understanding in his eyes said everything truth had finally reached him, not through arguments, but through the quiet honesty of Ethan's actions. Weeks passed, and Willow Creek felt warmer than ever. Ethan still greeted people kindly, still crafted beautiful lanterns, but he no longer explained himself when others misunderstood him. His silence became a shield, a gentle but powerful reminder that he didn't owe explanations to those determined not to listen. One evening, as Ethan placed a lantern outside his shop, a young boy tugged at his sleeve. "Mr. Ethan," he asked, "why do your lanterns shine so beautifully?" Ethan looked at the flame, soft and steady inside the glass, and said, "Because I no longer waste my fire trying to light the darkness inside others. I keep it here where it belongs." The boy smiled, and the lantern's warm glow reflected in his wide, innocent eyes. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. When people are trapped in their own illusions, your silence becomes a quiet strength. You don't need to defend your truth to those who have already decided not to see it. You don't need to explain your heart to those who never cared to listen. Peace isn't found in being understood. It is found in understanding that you don't need anyone as validation to know who you are. When you stop chasing approval, something beautiful happens. You start to feel free, truly free. You begin to live for your own peace, not for someone else's permission. And in that gentle freedom, life becomes lighter, calmer, more real than ever before. If this story touched your heart, remember, there are many more waiting for you here. So take a moment to subscribe to Tales with English and join this journey where every story brings hope, peace, and a little light for your soul. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay kind, stay calm, and keep your inner light glowing.